and welcome back, Magnet Cove, to this next episode of the Prez Box. I am Will Kizzia, your host, and joined this time by Coach Adams, head coach of the Magnet Cove football team. And, Coach, quite a good week one performance by your guys. Like, what really stood out to you this year? I mean, you have to go on the road first week, which is never easy, no matter who you're playing. And Gurdon certainly wasn't exactly like the easiest team to play. They put up a fight for a while, but defense kind of stood strong. But what really impressed you?
That's what stood out to me was our defense. Our defense played pretty well. I was most proud of our. We got 2 turnovers really early on the first drive. I believe the second play, first or second play, we put a hat on the ball. It pops loose. We get it, and then a couple drives later, it happens again. And so we got 2. Gurdon gave us 2 costly turnovers early because our offense didn't play very well. But defensively, that's what stood out to me, our defense.
And, like, just looking back to last year's game against Gurdon, I mean, it was a lot closer, and albeit Gurdon had a lot more guys on their team last year. And, I mean, Angel, I tend to remember, had a good game. I mean, the running back room, to me, had, like, a good game, if I remember correctly. So, like, what specific unit of the team you think had the best game? Like, D-line, O-line? Like, which unit do you think, like, lived up to the expectations you had for it in the offseason the most?
At last Friday night, I will say our linebackers did a really good job, and our D-line. DBs, they did. I'm not taking anything away. The whole defense played great, but I was really impressed with our linebacker play. The reason being is last year we missed a lot of tackles at linebacker, and it was just a struggle all year long. And Friday night it was not a struggle for our linebackers. We were there and we met our plays, we read our keys, and so I was really proud of that. That specific, if we want to be specific, my linebackers I was the most proud of.
All right, so you have like our offense also didn't do bad, and I would assume you'd agree with me on that.
Yeah. Offensive line, we had to make some adjustments after halftime. Gurdon gave us something we weren't expecting, and so there for a while we had a few mishaps on the offensive line, just not going by our rules. And so at halftime, we noticed what we were doing. The kids were telling us, and we saw it on the iPad, and a lot of our kids play both ways, so it's hard to get a kid over there and tell them. And so at halftime, I told them, this is what we're doing wrong, and we fixed it after halftime and started clicking a little better. But our running backs ran tough, and that helped us a lot overcome some of those early mistakes on the offensive line against Gurdon. But it was it's not that they didn't play hard. They played hard. I was proud of their effort. It was just mental mistakes on the offensive line.
I mean, I thought, considering that you don't, I believe, have a returning wide receiver in the wide receiver room that was a starter last year. I mean, Ethan's quarterback and the rest of them, I believe, are gone. Like, correct me if I'm wrong on that, but I mean, they played pretty well considering.
Yeah, Isaac Tillery caught him a big touchdown pass. I was proud of that. And then Ethan did a good job. Ethan came in the summer, and he did a good job every day in practice. He's always here, and he's going to work hard. He stays late, works on his own. I know he takes some of my really expensive footballs home with him and practices at home, and so he's just going to work really hard. And I know I get on to him a whole lot in practice, but he's the kind of kid that he takes that and he's going to get better because of it. And then Colton Mabry had a really good game against Gurdon as well. They gave us a different look than we were expecting from last year. I mean, we were expecting them to do both, but it was the same look all night. And so we had to throw the ball a little bit, and we got the ball to Colton Mabry out there in space, and he looked pretty good in my opinion. And Ethan did a good job getting it to him. But yeah, our wide receivers do a good job, and stock blocking, man, we run the ball so much. Calvin McKinney is out there being unselfish, stock blocking, and then Jaden Mullins, he actually got a holding penalty one time, but he drove the kid, 15 yards and put him on his back. They called a holding penalty, which is probably a good call. He had his hands outside of him, but the effort from those guys have been tremendous, and so I was proud of those guys as well. But but yeah, that the receivers have been very. They've done a good job so far, and it's just we just picked up where we left off last year, and I think the difference between this year's team and last year's team is just a little bit of maturity. I think we've matured a little bit. We still have some youngsters out there, and that was the difference between us and Garden. Garden was very young. They're going to have a really good ball team and next year and the year after with a good junior high group coming up. But they're playing a lot of sophomores out there, so I think our team this year's matured and they that showed against Garden and being able to adjust um, off our mistakes that we made in the first half. I was proud of that too, but we could have done a lot of things better, and I'm not going to get into that on the air, but we could have done a lot of things better early in the game that I wasn't happy with offensively. Defensively, I thought we played pretty well.
And so, looking ahead to this week's game, you got to go to Fordyce, which is never a fun place to play. But I mean, like, what is your favorite part of going down to play Fordyce? Like, what's the thing you're most looking forward to about this game?
Oh man, I'm from there, and there's a lot of pride on that field. You know, Coach Paul Bear Bryant, he played there. He played there. Coached University of Alabama, won 6 national championships. Larry Lacewell, Red Parker coached there. I may be wrong, but 58, 59, and 60, he didn't lose a game back then. And I need to double check on my dates and make sure. But a lot of tradition on that field. Coach that was, he probably didn't know it, but he was always looked up to him. Coach George Shelton, he coached Pine Bluff Dollarway, was a really good football coach, and he's from Fordyce. So a lot of coaches and the people in the profession played at Fordyce, and there's a lot of pride on that field and a lot of tradition. And so it's a nostalgic going home and playing on that field when the train rolls by. You know, just the field's not on campus. It's just it brings back a lot of great memories from growing up there. But Fordyce is a tough place to play, and they're always going to have good athletes, and they're good this year. They're ranked, I think, number 3, maybe number 2 or 3 in the 3A. And so, I told our guys, I told them, I said, we played last year when we played them, we got stomped here the year before we beat them. And so I said, hey, my challenge to y'all this week is we ain't playing like we did last year. I said that was Fordyce. It was like a lot like the first half of Garden last week. Mental mistakes that cost us because they were so athletic that, we make one mental mistake, they're through on a blitz or something like that. We don't pick it up and we're in trouble. And so, and hats off to Fordyce. They came down here and they kicked our rear, and so they got just as good of a team this year. So I'm excited to go down there and play. I know our kids will take that challenge and they'll put up a good fight. And, we don't think we can, we think we can beat anybody. And so that's what I'm talking about with our guys being more mature. They don't think that we're going to go down there and lose, and neither do I. And so, but if we make the same mistakes we did last year, it's not going to be pretty. So, and I think these guys will rise to the challenge, and I think it's going to be a good ball game. And I'm excited to go down there and play. I want to play teams like that. I want a tough environment, and I think it's good for our kids as well to get that game, to play that game on the schedule, and then get ready for conference play after that with Fordyce and Poen. So,
I mean, what is it you think the team's going to have to do well specifically to beat Fordyce? Like, what are they going to have to limit that Fordyce does a lot of? What are we going to have to do well that we do well? Like, what is the keys to the game, more or less?
Well, we're gonna have to win the turnover battle. Fordyce coughed the ball up a few times at Monticello, and they got some of them back. They would put it on the ground and get it back, but they will cough it up. We're gonna have to be content with getting 3 yards a carry because it's gonna be tough. Just like my first year we played them, that's what we did. And every now and then one will pop, and so we're just gonna have to be content with that, and we're gonna have to expect Fordyce is gonna make big plays. That's just who they are. They're an explosive team. They're fast. They got a track state champion on their team, and I played with a lot of their family members, and they're fast, they're athletic, but so they're going to have to understand there's going to be big plays made by Fordyce. And my challenge to the defense is sudden change. Something like that happens, how are we going to respond? Are we going to hang our head, or we go out there and we're going to stop the next time? And so those are some keys. I'm not going to say things we're going to do in the game on the radio, but those are some keys that I think just mentally is how we have to lock in for the game. Expect it to be tough. Expect to have to stick your face in dark places. Expect to get stopped, punt the ball, and then get the ball back, and then we put a drive together. Things like that happen, and it's not just going to come easy. You're going to have to stick your face up in there and get some yards, and keep doing it. Get a first down and keep rolling. So, and I think with our offense, controlling that clock is another important factor. So those are some key factors for the game against Fordyce.
All right, one last thing here. Like, you kind of touched on it earlier, but I kind of feel like there's like a difference in this team this year and last year going into this game, as you kind of mentioned. Like, I've been like hearing from some of the guys, since I'm buddies with quite a few of them, like where they're confident that they're going to go down there and beat Fordyce. Like, what do you feel is like the big difference between this year and last year's team and like their mindset going into the game?
Well, I loved last year's team. No disrespect to them. There's seniors on that team that I love that I wish I could have on the field Friday night with me every week. Don't get me wrong. No disrespect to them, but this year's team, like I said, the maturity. I've been coaching these guys since I've been here. I've had them all the way through high school, and so I think they've bought into, what we've been preaching, and I think it's a more of a mental aspect of just believing they can win any game they play, but they know it's a process and a lot of hard work, and and I think that's a reflection of some of my seniors from last year. Wilson Ballantyne was that way, and Aaron Holland was that way, and so I have a lot of guys that played last year that were that way. I'm not going to sit here and name all of them because it'd take all day, but those guys, these guys this year, they want it more than anything, and they want to get some of those games back last year that were disappointing. And so I told them, I said, you have to do one game, play one game at a time. And Fordyce, I'm not going to lie to you ever. Fordyce is a really tough opponent. They're really good. They're coached up by Coach Rogers. He coached me in junior high and my senior year of high school. He's a smart coach. He knows what he's doing, and he wants to win more than anybody else. So, they're coming to win too, and they're not just coming to win. They're coming to kick our butt on their home field. And so that's the mentality you got to have. And so I think these guys just mentally, they're more locked in. I don't have to get onto them pregame for focusing. They're focused, and it's just it's more of a mental thing, mental maturity than anything. It's when things are going wrong, how do you respond? If you know it's going to be tough, hey, do it anyway. Face it. Go through it. And I think those guys are willing to embrace those things to be successful. And so that's what I mean by maturing. And the sophomores have a good example in the juniors. I have a lot of juniors and seniors combined. That's a good group. We have a big sophomore class too. But the sophomores, I think, are learning. It's trickling down. That leadership is. And so we're a good team. We have a good unit together. They all work together. So.
Thank you for being on the show, Coach, and good luck this week against Fordyce. When we come back, I'll have Coach Shane Hartsell from here at Manic Cove back on the show, and we're taking a break right here, but stay with us.
Do you have some land you need cleared to build on? Call Hartsell Farms and Excavating. Do you need some excavation done on your property? Call Hartzell's Farms and Excavating. Hartzell's Farms and Excavating, LLC, is a veteran-owned and operated company with 20-plus years of experience in the construction business. Owner Vernon Hartzell will be happy to see how he and his crew can meet your needs. Free estimates can be given by calling number 870-210-0204. Again, that number is 870-210-0204. Thank you for your business.
And welcome back to the Prez Box as we have Coach Shane Hartsell here once again, Coach Hartsell, it's good to be back, and it feels even better to be winners.
Absolutely. A great week one, some great matchups across the conference, the 3A4 conference, and some big-time games this past week. So a lot of teams got a great start to start up the non-conference play and kind of figure out where they're at from here and what they need to work on and focus on.
And, I mean, taking a look at across the 3A4, I mean, Gwen Rose beats Bauxite. They go to Malvern next, who just beat Jacksonville in Jacksonville. I mean, that's just such a good game for Gwen Rose. But going down the list, number one, Gwen Rose, I think, stays up on top of the conference standings with that win. And then you got Paris winning over 4A Waldron, 27-0. They're going to they got Lavaca at home next. Lavaca 1-0. I mean, go Magnet 3. Perryville had a rough time against Adkins, dropped it 40-12. And they got Hector at home next, which is Hector's home opener. Jessieville lost 42-7 against Mayflower. Mayflower, a good team, so not really an indicator of how good or bad Jessieville would be. They got Mount Ida at home next. Mount Ida's home opener. Actually, all the bottom half, all the teams below number 3, this is the home opener that their opponents are playing. So we don't have anything to go off of stat-wise for their opponents.
Sure.
Cutter Morning Star 6, they played a somewhat good game against Fountain Lake, 55-24 loss. But, I mean, it's a 4A school. Cutter just in their second year in the 3A after being 8-man forever and ever. So, very respectable performance.
Absolutely.
From Cutter. They got Poen at home next. And Danville lost 39-13 to Hackett. And then they got home versus Johnson County West Side. And then Two Rivers had a bye week this first week of the season, and they've got Baptist Prep to open the season. Both teams' first games. And, I mean, just kind of running down this list, I mean, not a whole lot of changes, but, like, the Perryville result's surprising to me. Not that Perryville is necessarily a really bad team for losing to Adkins. Adkins is good in their own right, but it's like getting beat 42-17 was kind of not what I expected.
Yeah, like you said, Atkins is a good ball club. They're a good team. They're always competitive, and of course, I think Perryville had a very senior laden team last year, so the graduation really hurt them a lot as far as they lost a lot. So they're having to do like a lot of teams are, fill in those pieces, and that's kind of some of the question marks. And with it being week one,
you can't really infer too much from week one.
You really can't. I know that sounds crazy, but really it's not. Week one, you do, like I said last week, you do your biggest improvement from week one up to week two. You figure out, what your deficiencies are, where you may need to work in areas more so than others, and then you try to correct those, simple mistakes, those mental errors and things like that may cause you, turnovers or points in a game. So this week, teams are really, I think you'll look at week 2 and week 3 and you'll go, okay, teams will really start to develop somewhat of an identity, I guess you would say.
And going to Gwen Rose, we've got them beating Bauxite this past week. One of our games of the week, our other games of the week were Magnet Cove. They took care of business against Gurdon, 39-0. You've got good job to Bentonville, by the way, for pulling off massive upset against where they left off last year was Tulsa Union was number 3 in the state of Oklahoma for their 7A. And they went I believe Bentonville went to Tulsa Union and beat them 28-14. So full props to Bentonville. We'll be talking about that in a minute. And then I believe Bryant took care of business against Benton 40-10, which is unfortunate for Benton. But, I mean, just Bryant's such a good team.
Yeah, they are. I mean, Bryant is Bryant, like we said last week. They're well coached. They are very fundamentally sound. They have great athletes and just a great tradition there at Bryant. So
I believe last game was Lakeside, Lake Hamilton, I believe. Or wait,
yes.
it was Malvern. It was Malvern, Jacksonville that we
And
had for our last game.
Yes.
Another good game in Lakeside, Lake Hamilton. That was also another good game, but Malvern going on the road to 5A Jacksonville, taking care of business 22-14. I mean, great game by Malvern. I mean, great games all around. Now, moving on to the other game that was major. I mean, what does it say about Bentonville? I mean, they just went to Tulsa Union, one of the best teams in Oklahoma, as mentioned before, and I mean, just beat them there. Like, does that change the 7A significantly? Because I believe that took Bentonville from, like, I believe they were number 15 or something in the state all the way up to number 2.
Right.
I mean, does that just shake up Bryant's order of things in the 7A?
I don't know if it really does. Tulsa Union, yes, most definitely a powerhouse, has been a powerhouse in Oklahoma for years, and there's a lot of still unknowns. We don't know, what they lost. Tulsa lost last year, and the fact we knew Bentonville was going to be pretty good, but we didn't know how good. So I think these next couple of weeks will really tell the tale as far as, okay, is Bentonville, really good, and which we know they are, but how good are they, and how good can they be and get better as the season progresses?
I mean, you've got Danville, who's looking to rebound against Johnson County West Side. You got Cutter also trying to rebound against Poen. I mean, you got a lot of teams in this conference trying to rebound, and as for Two Rivers, get out on the right foot. How do you do that after either, in Two Rivers' case, not playing a game week 1, and more importantly, how do you rebound after a loss?
Well, I think you've got to, as far as I'll answer the question, with Two Rivers, first of all, you're kind of I want to say maybe a week behind everyone else, because everyone else has had that first game besides the regular scrimmages, of course, which this is going to really be like their first test of the season. So that kind of puts them a little behind. I'm not going to say terribly bad, but as far as, the teams that maybe did not play as well in the first week of regular season play, you got to look at, I think a lot of coaches, that you come out in the preseason and you have an idea, but you really don't know until you actually get on that field and start putting those student athletes in game-like situations, and it's just hard to tell. So I think these coaches probably went in and watched film this past week and said, okay, hey, here's what we need to work on. Here's the areas that we need to improve in, whether it be ball security, taking care of the football, maintaining blocks, not giving up huge running lanes on defense. I mean, those are the type of things that you can correct. Again, I think you're going to see a lot of teams make their biggest jump in improvements from week 1 to week 2.
I mean, going back to Paris for a second, like, everybody knew going into this year that Paris was going to be way better this year. Like, dark horse for the 3A4, kind of good. I was not necessarily expecting them to be this good to where they can go and shut out Waldron. Not to say that I don't think they could have beat Waldron. I think they would have beat Waldron.
Right.
But it's like, I mean, Waldron, no matter how good or bad the school is, like, they're still a 4A school. Like,
Sure. You're
like, that's
right.
a statement for Paris, at least in my opinion.
Right. Again, we talked about Paris, and we talked about this last week. They are much improved. If I had to give out, the most improved award, I would probably give that to Paris right now, early in the season, just for the simple fact of the players that we knew that they had coming up, and they're really building something there in Paris, and you can tell the kids are behind it. They believe in it, and like you said, it's not it's tough. I don't care. You go and play up a classification, and you're playing, a bigger
Physical.
team, it's tough to get a win, much less a shutout for that. So that says a lot. That says a lot about Paris and where they're at right now and where they hope to go.
And let's look ahead to next week for the rest of the teams. The biggest game in the conference for me is Glen Rose Malvern. That game's really going to tell you how there Glen Rose is this year, because everyone's predicting Glen Rose to win the conference. Everyone thinks they're going to be the most consistent team, but we're about to see how Glen Rose does this in a rivalry game going to Malvern as Malvern comes off beating a 5A team. What do you make of that game and its implications for not necessarily the conference, but where Glen Rose stands? Like, what are you looking to take away from it?
Well, it's going to be a tough game. It always is. It may come down to the fact, who has the ball last, that type of thing. And, of course, another thing that I think we got to mention here is, Malvern is going to be playing with a heavy heart. They lost one of their former coaches who retired, who also happens to be a Magnet Cove graduate here, Coach Mark Freer. And our thoughts and prayers go out to his family and all his friends and the coaching staff at Malvern and at Glen Rose. The Glen Rose coaching staff, of course, knew Mark as well. So it's going to be a very emotional game for them, for sure. And it's always been a shootout. Who can stop who can maybe make the other team turn it over, and basically it may come down to, just like it has, who's got the ball with time remaining, and who can put it in the end zone or score points. So it should be a very good match, but again, going to be a very emotional match for the Leopards and for Glen Rose too as well.
Now, moving on to our final segment today, our games of the week. And got a few big ones this week. We got Conway going to Bentonville in the 7A. That's Bentonville's already had one test in the form of Tulsa Union, but this is their first in-state test, and boy, is it a big one.
Yes, absolutely. That's going to be a real test. We'll see if Bentonville is for real, and the fact that they're going against Conway, and Coach James always has his team ready to play, and it should be a great hard-hitting, hard-nosed football game there this coming Friday.
Moving on along, we've got Fayetteville at home against Broken Arrow, Oklahoma. Once again, a 7A team in Arkansas playing one of the best teams Oklahoma has to offer. Another week where it's kind of like, well, this says a lot about your team if you're able to win this one.
Sure, absolutely. Fayetteville has had a lot of success last year. A great run in the playoffs, and just a tremendous team. And they have a great team, a great tradition up there in Northwest Arkansas, and again, Broken Bow, big time team, another big time Oklahoma team. So should be an interesting matchup, and Fayetteville's they'll be tested with this team for sure.
Moving on along to a 5A, 6A matchup in this area. We've got Lakeside traveling to Sheridan. Coach Kevin Kelly really wanting to get his team off the ground in the second year. Somewhat disappointing first year for Kevin Kelly, at least by his typical standards.
Right.
And, you got Lakeside, who's wanting to build off the momentum of winning the game against Lake Hamilton. So you got two 1-0 teams coming out of week one, and, one of them's got to fall.
Right. Well, this ought to be a great game. I look, both teams like to move the ball, and they like to move the ball fast. And so, Coach Kelly is Coach Kelly, and he's going to, he is always going to have an offense that is high powered. And I'll say this too with Lakeside, Coach Rock has done a phenomenal job, really building that program up, and he just, I think this past week with their victory over Lake Hamilton, he is now 3-0 against Lake Hamilton, and who would have thought we would have ever saw that? It used to be very lopsided, and Lake Hamilton, of course, dominated that series for years, but now it's starting to even up a little bit.
And I mean, it's two teams that really want to get their footing going, get building up their playoff resume. So, very interesting game going to be coming out of Sheridan this Friday. Gwen Rose, Malvern next. I mean, we've already talked about this game.
Sure.
This is going to be a fantastic game, but I don't think we can quite stress enough just how huge this game could potentially be. If Malvern wins this, they continue their stretch on. And
right.
I mean, I think their next toughest game this year would be Arkadelphia after this
Sure.
Gwen Rose game, simply because of how tough this Gwen Rose squad is going to play against them. So it's an early test for Malvern to keep building up into 4A. And I mean, they've already got one early test under the belt. And as for Gwen Rose, they want to continue on momentum. Hey, we've beaten Bauxite, and they're in Malvern's conference, and they're not exactly bad.
Right.
Let's go make it a sweep against Malvern's conference. I mean, just
Sure.
huge stakes this week for the teams, not necessarily conference-wise, but momentum-wise. Any last
Right.
thoughts you have on that game?
Yes, I mean, again, going to be a great game. Both teams are very, very physical. Play physical. They play hard, like their coaches have taught them to do, and it's going to be. I expect it to be a very, very tough game on both sides of the football for both teams. So again, it comes down to who can make the fewest mistakes and win the turnover battle and capitalize on those turnovers, and it should be a great one for both teams. Obviously, one team is going to have an advantage with a win going into their third week of non-conference play, and like you said, carrying that momentum forward. That does a lot for a team when they can start out 2-0, and it really helps them mentally get on that good foot and kind of get in that rhythm, find that rhythm, so to speak.
And to cap up our show this week, we have the game y'all have all been waiting for. Magnet Cove traveling to Fordyce. And Magnet Cove, I mean, I love the confidence that I'm getting radiating off this team. They are not happy with how that game ended last year, and they're going to go down to Fordyce, and they think that they're going to show it to Fordyce. Fordyce, on the other hand, wanted to just continue what they've built against Monticello.
Right.
And, I mean, we got two teams really don't necessarily like each other. Even though they've only played a few times, really don't like each other. And you've also got the fact that, I mean, these teams are really balanced recently. I mean, the first time they played each other recently, you've got Magnet Cove dropping a heartbreaker at home in the playoffs, and back when both teams were in 2A, then Magnet Cove very next year goes out and beats them in their place. So, I mean, it's the road teams that have been winning. So can Fordyce break the streak, or will Magnet Cove continue it?
That's the ultimate question. You kind of look at both these teams right here, Fordyce and Magnet Cove, and of course Coach Adams is going to have the Panthers ready to go into Fordyce and play. Not last year, but when Magnet did go to Fordyce last, that was a very physical ball game, one of the best football games I've seen. As far as between two small schools and two proud communities, both teams played extremely hard, and Magnet Cove was able to capitalize on a couple of turnovers in some situations and come out victorious in that game. But it was a dogfight. I think if you ask both Coach Adams and Coach Rogers, who is the head coach at Fordyce, they kind of, their teams almost kind of mirror them in the fact, Coach Adams, they're going to run the ball. They're going to keep pounding it at you. And Coach Rogers is that way as well, too. He's going to pound it with you, But they do have some weapons in which they can stretch the field out and get you in some situations, some one-on-one situations, and try to exploit their athleticism, and they are a very good team to do that with.
And I mean, last thing here before we start rounding things up, like, what do you think are the keys? What do you think Magnet Cove's going to have to do to win? What do you think Fordyce is going to have to do to stave off the Panthers?
Well, for Magnet Cove, one thing they're going to do is control the possessions, and what I mean by that, control the clock, be able to move the chains, first downs, keep the down. When you get into third downs, you want third and short. You don't want to get into third and long situations, and I think that's going to be the key to their success. And as far as defensively for Magnet is just limiting the big plays, the big explosive plays. If you can do those two things and also create a turnover, whether it be on special teams or defense, that's going to be helpful as well, and capitalize on that. As far as Fordyce, of course, they are playing at home. This is their home opener, and
always a fun environment there.
Sure. Oh yeah, you go down. Hey, there is no place like playing in Fordyce, Arkansas, home of Bear Bryant, down at Bryant Stadium at Fordyce, and it's just a great atmosphere for small town high school football in Arkansas. But Fordyce they're going to have to again hit some good plays, some big plays, and also limit Magnet. Don't let them take control of that clock like we mentioned, and have those long sustained drives, and where they like to be ball control and drive it down the field and keep the chains moving and basically just wear you down. That's what Magnet does with their offensive line. They're looking to wear you down. And so I think if they can do that and get some stops on defense, and then that is going to be the key to their success.
Thank you, Coach Hartsell, for joining me once again this week. And that wraps up our episode here at the Prez Box this week. We got an exciting slate of matchups. We got week 1 under our belts. We're going into week 2. Well, week 1 for high school. Week 0 was last week technically for high school. But for all intents and purposes, week 2. And we'll see you back here next week after Magnet Cove travels to Fordyce. Stay safe and PPRD.
Do you have some land you need cleared to build on? Call Hartsell Farms and Excavating. Do you need some excavation done on your property? Call Hartsell's Farms and Excavating. Hartsell's Farms and Excavating, LLC, is a veteran-owned and operated company with 20-plus years of experience in the construction business. Owner Vernon Hartsell will be happy to see how he and his crew can meet your needs. Free estimates can be given by calling number 870-210-0204. Again, that number is 870-210-0204. Thank you for your business.